Alright, today we're going to be talking about why Destiny 1 is better than Destiny 2 and giving 5 reasons for it. Now I know this is kind of a hot subject because a lot of people prefer Destiny 2 and a lot of people prefer Destiny 1. In no way, shape, or form am I trying to shit on Destiny 2. I think Destiny 2 is a great game, but I still think right now Destiny 1 is better. Hopefully that'll change in Shadowkeep. In fact, I'm sure it will. But anyway, yeah, let's go and get into it. Alright, number 5 is going to be the armor. The armor was so much cooler back in Destiny 1. Now, don't get me wrong, there was a good amount of like pretty bad looking armor, but in terms of like the legendary armor sets, they looked so much better. Specifically the raid armor as well looked amazing, especially of Age of Triumph. Now, tons of people talk about Age of Triumph and how the armor in that was absolutely incredible. But the armor in Destiny 1 looks so much better. Now, Destiny 2 has some good armor pieces, but I just don't think it matches Destiny 1's armor for me. And yeah. Alright, next one here is going to be the destinations slash planets. Now, in my opinion, the planets were a lot better, especially the base planets compared to the Destiny 2 base planets, because of the fact that they showcased, and I actually made a video on this before, they showcased actually post-collapse humanity, and kind of showcased, well, actually pre-collapse humanity during the Golden Age and how they went to shit. Mars, you have the research facility. Venus, you have the Ishtar archives, etc. And yeah, it was some really cool shit. Destiny 2 does have some of this, but it doesn't have that extent that Destiny 1 has. It feels like you're just going to planets and you're not going and exploring their history and how humanity was here and everything, because Destiny 1 was pretty much all about the collapse and shit like that, and how humanity went to fucking shit. So it was, kind of gonna show that. Now the Dreadnought obviously didn't have that Golden Age stuff because it was a hive ship, so that just doesn't really count. The Plague Lands didn't really do a good job with that, but that wasn't the purpose of the Plague Lands. The Plague Lands was the splicers and everything, and how they fucked up the Cosmodrome, so it wasn't really the point of that. But I'm just not the biggest fan of the planets, and yeah, like I said, I think the Destiny 1 planets are a lot better. Next up is going to be the strikes, their fun factor, and the rewards. Now, in terms of the mission design itself with the boss fights and just the mechanics as a whole, you could say Destiny 2 is better, and yeah, I think it's definitely better in that aspect, but I think the strikes in general are more fun, specifically because of the modifiers. Now, I do know modifiers are in Destiny 2 with their strikes, however, they don't have the super challenging modifiers that Destiny 1 had. We had match game and all of that shit, all like the pretty fucking hard ones, juggler, juggler wasn't bad, but match game was the bitch, and it really made stuff challenging, and therefore it was fun, because you couldn't really stomp through them. You still could, but not at the extent you can now. The extent you can now is absolutely ridiculous, and I hope that they end up making that aspect of the game better, but we'll see. So, the rewards from the strikes were tremendously fun. I'm sorry, not fun, but tremendously good because of the loot, the strike-specific loot. In Destiny Rise of Iron, they ended up adding in skeleton keys. Taken King, they added in the strike-specific loot. And I do know that they have that in Destiny 2, but it's just not the level of Destiny 1. You look at the Darkblade helm, right? That is literally the helmet off of the boss on your Titan head. That is absolutely insane. So I hope they bring that aspect back, but in my opinion, they can't really make the strike loot good in this game overall, unless if they rework the year 1 strike loot and even the year 2 strike loot. And we don't have any armor. Some of these are just, I think there's like ships and sparrows, and it's just it's bad. And I think what they need to do is make it back in Destiny 1, where certain strikes have weapons, certain strikes have armor, and yeah. Alright, next up at number 2 is going to be the raid loot. The raid loot was so much better, and obviously I talked about this with the armor a little bit, but there were so much better weapons. What do we have in Destiny 2 here? So we have the Sins of the Past rocket launcher, which is not very good anymore, considering that it's not a random roll rocket launcher. but it was really good back in year one. What else do we have? From the Last Wish, if you consider the exotics to be a thing, then we have the 1000 Voices. But in terms of like the base raid loot, I can't really think of anything that from Last Wish. Maybe the Nation of Beasts would be good. I don't really know with that aspect. I mean, I do know, but it's just there's not a whole lot there. And then we have Scourge of the Past, which has the threat level, Crown of Sorrows, which really doesn't have anything good. It has what is it? The shotgun that can come with 1-2 punch. I think that's the one. And yeah, I think that's kind of there's not as much loot or good loot rather than there was in Destiny 1. I mean, take a look at Destiny 1 loot. You had, of course, the Fatebringer, which came back in year 3 of Age of Triumph, Vision of Confluence, the sniper rifle from Glass, I forget what that one was called. Then you have the Defiance of Yasmin, which was the King's Fall sniper rifle, absolute beast at in PvP wise. And then you have, of course, the Black Hammer, which wasn't really a thing after year 2 from Crota's End. I'm not doing this in chronological. And then you have some other stuff. I'm not really familiar with Crota's End weapons too much. I know that the Word of Crota was kind of good. And yeah, and then Wrath of the Machine, tons of good shit. Actually, we're not even done with King's Fall. Smite Brain and Doom Kilkus were actually pretty damn good guns. The hand cannon suck balls though. And then you had, of course, the Quilm's Terminus, or Herod Quilm's Terminus is what I had. That is an absolute monster of machine gun, and probably the best machine gun in the entire game. It was really fucking good, at least legendary machine gun wise. And yeah, and then you also have Wrath of the Machine with some awesome weapons. You got the Steel Medulla. You got the Genesis Chain Auto Rifle. You got the fucking... well, even in a hand cannon was pretty decent. And then you had the fucking Fusion Rifle, which was one of the better fusion rifles in the game. Shit, even the sidearm was actually a good sidearm. So, we don't have a whole lot of like those really like cool weapons in Destiny 2. There's still some good ones, but not as much cool ones. Alright, so number 1 here is going to be the raids. The raids in Destiny 1 overall were a lot better. I know there's more raids in Destiny 2, but in terms of how good they are and not focusing on quantity, on quality, I still think the Destiny 1 raids are a lot better. I mean, take a look at what we have. Vault of Glass, Crota's End, which is probably the best raid layer they've ever done. Because we've had a few raid layers, we've had, or the smaller scale raids rather. We've had the Eater of Worlds, the fucking, what was the Spire of Stars, then we have the fucking Scourge of the Past, and then we have Crown of Sorrows recently. I still think it's the best one out of all those, mainly because it's the most fun. It doesn't exactly have the most enticing encounters, but it's still fun. And then of course you have King's Fall, my favorite raid ever. I know some people, it's actually a divisive raid. People consider it to be one of the worst, people consider it to be some of the best. I consider it to be one of the best. And Wrath of the Machine, widely regarded as one of like the top 3 best raids in Destiny history. And yeah, I fully agree. I thought Wrath was fucking sick. And yeah, the raids in general were just a lot better. I found them a lot more fun. And like I said, Destiny 2 has, a really great raid, that being Last Wish, but everything else I'm just not the biggest fan of. Crown of Sorrows is a lot of fun, but it just doesn't have that enticing aspect to go for it. Where Last Wish, at least you can go for 1000 Voices, where you have what, the terrible, and yeah, that's the list. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, whatever you do to support the channel is greatly appreciated, and peace.